Good evening, everyone. I'm your storyteller, ready to take you through online dating tales that are strange and terrifying. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment where and when you're watching. Sit down, breathe slowly, and prepare for the chills to creep in every moment. Episode 1: The Bone Digger. I no longer remember how long I've been dead, perhaps decades, or even longer. When I was alive, I thought death would be like deep sleep. Just close my eyes and everything would disappear. But no. Death is not the end. Death is only a door, and I, the one who stepped through it, was locked on the other side. This forest is where I was buried. Since the moment I closed my eyes, I have never left. I have seen winter cover each branch with snow. I have seen summer burn the ground hot. I have seen autumn scatter rotting leaves over the pit where I lie, and I have smelled spring breathe fresh grass to hide the truth beneath. That pit is my grave. No headstone, no name, only roots curling around my bones. Whenever someone walks past, I often follow them for a while, not to scare them. Truth is, I want to protect them, because I am not the only one in this forest. That morning, the sun had not fully risen. Its light was thin, like a silver veil through bare branches. I stood at the forest entrance, a narrow path with grass wet from dew. From afar came footsteps and the clink of metal. A young woman appeared from the bend, around 20, hair tied high, long beige coat, a leash in her hand, leading a large golden-furred dog. Her name was Hannah. I knew from hearing her call herself before. The dog was Rusty. I had followed their steps a few times, silent as a shadow. She never knew a third presence walked this path with them, one that human eyes could not see. Hannah often came into the forest early in the morning, before sunlight touched the ground. I did not know why. Perhaps she liked the quiet, only birdsong, the wind, and footsteps on fallen leaves. Today she unclipped Rusty's leash as soon as she entered. The dog bolted ahead, sniffing each tree root, wagging its scents only it understood. Hannah walked slowly behind, brushing her hand along tree trunks, her eyes searching for something. I stayed a few steps away. The air was damp, smelling of rot and wet soil. Everything was peaceful, until Rusty barked. At first it was only a few short barks. Then it grew rapid, echoing through the forest like an alarm. I felt something move underground, not an animal, a human. Rusty stood at the edge of an open patch of earth. His fur bristled, teeth bared. I recognized the place, directly above my grave. From behind a large tree, a figure emerged, about 50, thin but wiry, skin pale, as if sunlight had never touched it, almost naked, wearing only wrinkled trousers. In his right hand, a wide machete gleamed. In his left, a cloudy bottle of liquor, its surface worn from long grip. He knelt and dug the blade into the soil. Each thrust was hard enough to send dirt flying. Liquor breath drifted into the air, mixing with the damp earth. It made a sharp, metallic stench. Hannah stepped closer, hesitant. "Sir, do you need help?" He looked up. His pale blue eyes locked on her face. They gleamed unnaturally in the shade. He smiled, a crooked, twisted smile. "Come here. I want to show you something." I knew that look. Years ago, I had stood where Hannah stood now. I had heard the same words, and I had stepped forward. The price was to lie beneath this soil. Hannah hesitated, but still took half a step closer, as if pulled by some invisible force. I wanted to shout, to grip her shoulder, but my hand passed through the air, only leaving a cold breeze that made Rusty shiver. The pit was empty, only dirt and roots. He drove the machete into the ground, then reached deep inside. He stirred the soil hard. When his hand came out, I saw a white bone, still wet with earth. The worst part. He gripped one end with his teeth, pulling it up as if biting prey. Hannah stepped back, eyes wide with panic. Rusty growled and backed toward her. I could feel her heartbeat race, blood pounding in her veins. He laughed hoarsely, drank from the bottle, then suddenly swung the machete. The blade hissed through the air. It passed sideways in front of Hannah. It buried deep into the tree trunk behind her, vibrating. He cursed, his eyes clouding over. Hannah grabbed the leash, turned, and ran. I ran beside her, through tree roots, leading her along paths only the dead know. Behind us, his laughter echoed, drawn out, distorted by the wind. It haunted the forest. I knew this was not over. He would return, because he had not finished digging, and when he reached the very bottom, he would find me. When that happened, I would drag him down. Since that day, Hannah did not return to the forest. I knew because I still stood at the trail every morning. I waited for the sound of her familiar footsteps, but only wind and dry leaves came. She avoided this place, like many who had seen him. But unlike them, her eyes that day held more than fear. There was curiosity, and I knew curious ones always come back. On Saturday night, fog covered the entire field. I saw a beam of flashlight sweep across the trail. Hannah returned. She wore a dark coat and came alone. No Rusty. Her steps were slow, each one hesitant, but her hand held the flashlight steady. In her coat pocket, I saw the bulge of a small notebook and a pen. She meant to record what she found, not knowing it would be her last words. I walked beside her, not to stop her, but to see what she would find. At the mound of earth from before, there was no sign of digging. The ground was smooth, only a few deep machete cuts scarred the nearby tree trunk. But I knew he had returned. I could still sense the dark reek of liquor in the air, a smell even the wind could not erase. Hannah knelt, shining her light around the pit. She carefully wrote a few lines in the notebook. I drifted closer, reading over her shoulder. Ground shows digging. No bones, smell of alcohol. She stood and swept the beam around. Only trees and fog. But I knew. He was here. The flashlight beam swept over a leaning tree. It revealed an old carving, a name scratched and faded. Hannah stepped closer, wiped away moss. Letters appeared. Marie, 1974. She read it silently, then wrote it down. I shuddered. Marie was my name when I was alive. Memories flooded back. The rainy night, footsteps chasing close behind, a rough hand dragging me to the ground, the cold blade at my throat. He dug the hole. He buried me. And he carved my name into this tree like a sick game. A branch cracked behind us. Hannah spun, flashlight slashing through the dark. No one. But I saw him, standing not far away, hidden behind a trunk, his pale blue eyes gleaming in the dark. In his hands now, not a bottle of liquor, but a filthy cloth bag. He did not move closer. He wanted Hannah to go deeper. She kept walking, almost driven by an unseen force. I stayed close, certain it was a trap. The path led to a clearing where faint moonlight filtered through. At the center, a fresh dug pit, soil still damp. The stench of blood mixed with wet earth. Beside the hole lay the open cloth bag. Inside, I saw bone fragments tangled with long black hair. Hannah inhaled sharply. Her hand trembled, but she bent to shine her light. In that moment, he stepped from the darkness behind. No shirt. A gaunt frame. Skin stretched tight over bone. He crouched by the pit, muttering as if to someone. Another one. Almost enough. Hannah stepped back, her heel catching on a root. The flashlight fell, spinning its beam across the ground. It flickered over his face, twisted with dark red at the corners of his mouth. I stood between them. I wanted to pull her away, but I knew He could see through me. For the first time in years, I felt his gaze lock on me, as if he knew I was still here. He did not rush at her. He knelt, lifted a bone from the bag, and pressed it to his ear. Then he gave a low, rasping laugh. I can hear it. Hannah sprang up, grabbed the flashlight, and ran for the trail. He rose but did not follow, only watched. I stayed where I was, watching her silhouette fade into the distance, and I knew she would not stop. She had seen my name. She would return again. And next time, I might not be able to protect her. I once thought that anyone who saw my name carved into the tree would stay away. But Hannah was not like the others. She came back only 3 days later. The full moon hung above the forest. This time, she brought her phone, a small knife at her side, and Rusty, the dog who had been absent before. I waited at the trail. Cold wind cut through the leaves. It carried the scent of liquor and damp soil. He was still here. Hannah walked quickly, not stopping at the old mound. She went straight to the clearing where she had seen the pit and the cloth bag. But when she arrived, the pit was filled in. The soil flattened, no sign left behind. She frowned, sweeping the light around. Rusty barked softly, tail tucked low. I felt movement. He was to the left, between two rotting trunks. He did not show himself at once. A hoarse voice came from the dark. What are you looking for? Hannah turned, raising the knife. Stay away from me. I know you. Know what? He cut her off, tone almost playful. That I dig graves? Her grip on the knife tightened. I stepped back. The words he spoke, they were the same ones he said to me on the night I died. Memory crashed in. In 1974, my name was Marie. I was 19, working at a farm near the forest. One evening, on my way home, I saw him, younger then, but his blue eyes still cold and sharp. He asked for directions, then walked with me. When we reached a lonely stretch, he smiled. He said the one sentence I would never forget. Come here. I want to show you something. I was dragged to the ground, the blade pressed to my throat. His breath thick with liquor. Then darkness. The weight of soil pressing against my lungs, and laughter fading into the distance. I never left that place. Rusty's growl snapped me back to the present. He stepped out from behind the trees, cloth bag still in hand. Hannah's flashlight lit it, bones tangled with hair, more than last time. Here, is this your friend? He said, twisting a bone before her eyes. Or do you want to lie beside them? Hannah stepped back, knife raised, but Rusty suddenly lunged, biting his arm. He roared and struck the dog hard. Rusty flew, hit the ground, and whimpered. Hannah screamed and rushed forward, but he was faster. One sweep of his arm, and her knife flew into the bushes. I stood between them, knowing there was only one way. A spirit cannot touch the living, unless it stands on the ground where it died. I stepped back toward the mound, calling his name silently. He froze, blinking rapidly as if he could hear me. Marie, he whispered, you're still here. I drew every breath of cold from the earth, wrapping it around his legs. He staggered. The cloth bag fell. Hannah seized her knife, but instead of running, she turned and drove it into his chest. Blood spilled, soaking into the soil. He collapsed onto the grave mound. His hands clawed at the earth, as if still trying to dig. I felt something yank me down, as if his soul was falling into my place. For an instant, I saw Hannah's face, pale, eyes empty. She stood with the bloodied knife, Rusty whining at her side. Then, she turned and walked away without a word. She left the bag of bones where it lay. The next day, heavy rain washed everything away. No one found his body. Only I remained, no longer alone. Beneath the mound, hoarse laughter rose again. Another hand began to dig. I knew, soon, we would call a new name. And next time, it might be Hannah. Episode 2, The Second Grave. My name is Hannah, or it used to be Hannah. I don't know what happened after that night. I only remember the rain hammering on the leaves, his icy hands wrapped around my neck, the pale blue eyes staring at me, as if waiting for me to stop breathing. Then darkness swallowed me whole. When I opened my eyes again, I was still in the forest, but everything was different. Moonlight shone dimly, cutting through me. It cast the trees' shadows onto the ground, but not mine. I tried to call out, but no sound came. Only a cold breath escaped my lips, dissolving into the night fog. I knew I was dead, and I also knew I wasn't the only ghost here. Footsteps sounded behind me. I turned. A girl stood there, long hair, deep eyes, skin pale and cold. She wore a simple dress, mud clinging to its hem. She didn't give her name, but I recognized her instantly. It was carved into the tree. Marie, 1974. She didn't smile, didn't cry. She only looked at me, eyes that seemed to see through everything. I tried to warn you. Her voice sounded in my head, though her lips never moved. But now, you're staying. We stood together by the mound. I could still feel the last trace of my warmth fading away. Beneath it lay another body, his, or at least the body I thought I had killed that night. But Marie shook her head. He's not dead. He can't be. He's been here since before I came, and he will keep digging. I didn't understand. But then, from deep in the earth, came the sound. Nails scraping wet soil, dirt falling in clumps, and his hoarse breathing. I stepped back on instinct. Marie's hand touched my shoulder, ice cold. You'll get used to it soon. He doesn't dig for food. He digs to find a name. A name? Marie didn't answer. She turned and led me through shaded paths where the fog curled like hanging curtains. I saw countless figures standing still among the trees. Men, women, children, all blurred, eyes empty. We all heard the same words, Marie said, and we all stepped closer. Those words, I remembered them clearly. Come here, I want to show you something. The invitation that killed me. Now I understood. He wasn't just a murderer. He was something else. Something bound to this forest, older than the trees themselves. And tonight, I had become part of it. Marie stopped at the edge of fresh soil. She pointed down. This will be the next grave, and you will be the guide. I wanted to refuse, to scream that I would never do it, but somewhere deep inside my hollow chest, I felt a pull. Someone was walking into the forest, a new warmth. A new name, one I suddenly wanted to know. I understood. Death was never the end. It only changed the storyteller. The law of the forest. The living think death is the end. But for us, those who die in this forest, death is only the start of a sentence that never ends. Marie calls it the law of the forest. In short, whoever dies here will remain here, and whoever stays must pay their debt by leading another living soul to death. I did not believe it. I tried to hide, slipping into the thickest canopy, searching for an exit. But it was always the same. After a few steps, the scenery repeated. The same tree stumps, the old scent of soil, and my own grave mound. Marie was never annoyed. She had tried everything in the past 49 years. The more you resist, the tighter the law closes in, she said. Her voice was like she was speaking of an endless rainy season. Soon, you will feel the pull. When that happens, you will find someone and lead them to the next grave. I wanted to argue, but then it happened. On the 7th night, the fog thickened. I felt something like hot breath sliding into me. From far away came the sound of footsteps pressing leaves, steady breathing, and the scent of warm skin. A young man was walking along the trail. He carried a backpack and wore headphones with soft music playing. I had no intention of acting, but my feet, though no longer made of flesh and bone, moved on their own. Marie appeared beside me, silently watching. "Don't fight it," she said. "Just walk ahead of him. The law will do the rest." I walked 10 steps in front of him, far enough for my shadow to flicker in the fog. I wasn't sure if he saw it, but soon he turned in the exact direction, toward the path leading to the fresh pit. With each step, I felt lighter, almost floating. It was strange, like when I was alive and someone held my hand, pulling me through a crowd. I stopped thinking about warning him. My mind was filled only with one image, the deep hole and his face. And then he appeared, no longer the disheveled figure I last saw. This time, he wore a long black coat. His hair was neat, his blue eyes still cold and bright. He looked at me, not at the boy, but at me. "Good," he whispered, like praising a loyal dog. "You're learning faster than Marie." I wanted to scream but couldn't. Marie stood far off, eyes lowered to the ground. I realized she had done this too. He stepped toward the young man, his tone suddenly gentle. "Hey, come here. I want to show you something." 49 years ago, those words killed Marie. A few days ago, they killed me. And now, they would kill him. The boy hesitated, music still playing in his ears, but his gaze was already drawn to the cloth bag the man held. 1 step, 2 steps. I saw the moment it all collapsed. The blade flashed, sweeping across. A heavy thud hit the ground. Blood seeped into the soil. The metallic scent filled the air. I didn't look away. I stood still, watching him drag the boy into the pit. The earth closed over until the ground lay smooth again, as if nothing had happened. Marie came to me, resting a hand on my shoulder. Now, the second grave is full, and he is still not satisfied. I understood something then. The law of the forest didn't just force us to guide the living, it fed him. Each new death made him younger. His eyes gleamed in the fog, and I knew when my turn came, I would have to find the third grave. When I was alive, I believed everything had limits, even cruelty. But here, in this forest, I learned there are no limits at all. The law of the forest never ends, and the gravedigger will never be full. After the second grave was filled, I thought I could rest. But no. The very next night, the urge came back. Heat ran through my invisible body, leading me toward the trail. Marie was there, like a gatekeeper. "Don't think about resisting," she said. Her voice was steady, like reading an old spell. "Those who tried, vanished." "Vanished how?" I asked. Marie looked straight into my eyes. "Not a soul anymore. Nothing at all." But I refused to accept it. I would not be a servant forever. That night, when the urge pushed my steps toward a trail, I turned the other way. Each step felt like hundreds of hooks digging into my flesh, tearing it apart. Wind roared in my ears. The sound of 1,000 claws scraped inside my head. I almost collapsed. Then, everything stopped. I was standing somewhere I had never seen before, a clearing in the forest. In the center stood a stone cross, its surface covered in moss. Beneath it was a shallow pit, no body inside, only a torn, faded red cloth. I bent down and picked it up. At once, images poured into my mind. The gravedigger, but younger, wearing a white shirt, the red cloth pinned to his chest like a mark. He did not live here. He belonged to this place. A sound behind me snapped me back. Marie appeared, paler than ever. "You found it?" Her voice trembled. "That's the thing binding him to the forest." I clenched the cloth. If I destroy it, will the law break? But I saw something else. Dozens, hundreds of souls around us. People he had taken before. They were watching me. I screamed in my head, "Help me hold him!" Like a wind exploding, white shadows rushed at him. He roared, struggling, but they dragged him down. I shoved the red cloth into the pit under the cross. With all my strength, I pressed the dirt over it. Light burst out. Not sunlight, but something ancient and cold. He was gone. When I opened my eyes, the forest was silent. Marie stood before me, but different. Her eyes no longer empty, her voice soft as wind. "Thank you. The law is broken." I thought I could leave, but when I looked around, my own grave mound was still there. So was Marie's, and in the distance a shadow stood by the trail, holding a small notebook. My notebook from when I was alive. Marie whispered, "We cut one rope, but this forest has many knots, and now you must stay until all are undone." I understood. This was not the end. This was only the beginning of the next grave. Episode 3, The Nameless One. I had stayed here for over a month since one thread of the law of the forest was cut. A month for the dead could pass like a single breath, or it could last a lifetime. I could not measure it. I only knew nothing had changed. The mist still lay thick at night. The wind still whispered through the canopy like voices without faces. The mounds still remained. Marie told me not to hope. One thread cut does not mean everything vanishes. What binds us is like roots in the ground. To tear them all out, you must find each root one by one. I had not yet asked where to look when it appeared. It was not him, the gravedigger. He had vanished since the night I buried the red cloth. Instead, it was a new living person, a boy about 17, tall, thin, with a camera on his shoulder and a dark red scarf around his neck. He stepped into the forest as if searching for a place to photograph. He had no idea he had entered the place villagers called the Nameless Forest. I looked at Marie. "Are we going to save him?" Marie did not answer right away. She looked down at the ground. "If we intervene wrongly, the roots will bind us tighter. But if we do nothing, there will be a new mound." The boy stopped in a small clearing and raised his camera. I noticed that each time he clicked the shutter, the air around him rippled like waves spreading on water. Marie frowned. "He carries something that can see us." I froze. If that camera could capture spirits, it could also call out something else. And in this forest, not every spirit wanted to help. The wind rose sharply. It carried a thick, musty stench. Far off, I heard footsteps dragging through dead leaves, unhurried but steady, as if certain it would catch up. Marie touched my hand lightly. "He is still here. He never left. He just changed how he hunts." I looked toward the sound. The mist was so heavy I could only make out a tall figure, its head tilted slightly, arms hanging loose. It stopped whenever the boy looked up. It moved closer each time he lowered his camera. Marie and I had to act. "We split," Marie said. "I will block him. You lead the boy out of the forest." It sounded simple, but for the dead, leading out was never easy. This forest changed its paths whenever it wanted to keep someone inside, and this time, it wanted to. I moved toward the boy, shaking branches with the wind to draw his attention. He looked up, staring straight at where I stood. For an instant, his eyes widened. I was sure he saw me. Is someone there?" His voice trembled. I could not answer. I pointed toward the narrow trail that led out. He looked that way, then turned back, and the tall shadow in the mist had moved several steps closer. For the first time since I died, I felt what the living call true fear. Not fear for myself, fear for him. because I knew if he did not leave the forest before nightfall, he would become the next nameless one beneath this soil. The path was bent. I gestured for the boy to follow me. He kept looking at me. It was as if he wanted to confirm I was real. But when he saw the tall figure in the mist moving closer, he bit his lip and nodded. We began to run. The trail out of the forest should take only 10 minutes. But after about 5 minutes, I realized something was wrong. The trees along the path didn't slide backward as we ran. They shifted positions. They turned, like a maze rearranging itself. The boy panted. "We're still going the right way, right?" I couldn't answer, but the smell of damp earth and the icy cold around us gave me the answer. Number. The forest was bending the path, keeping him here. Somewhere else, the wind hissed. It formed a sound like whispering. It wasn't mine, it wasn't Marie's. It was a man's voice, rough and hoarse. "Don't run, you'll get tired." I felt the boy hesitate. His eyes turned glassy. The voice had reached his mind. I rushed forward. I swept my hand across his face. A strong gust of wind burst out, breaking the trance. He blinked. Then he kept running after me. Meanwhile, deeper in the forest, Marie faced the tall figure. I could only sense it through the vibrations in the air, but it was enough to know. It was him. No longer filthy, no longer holding the familiar knife. Now the tall figure was pure black shadow. His head tilted, his arms hung down to his knees. His eyes, still that pale blue, glowed faintly in the mist. Marie stood blocking the path. "You have no law to stand on anymore," she said. "Leave this place." He tilted his head further, like a bird watching prey. "The law isn't gone. It just changed shape. Now, I am the law." At the same time, the boy and I reached a clearing. I recognized this place. It was where I had found the red cloth, the clearing with the stone cross. But the cross was broken in half. The top part lay sideways, covered in moss. It looked like it had rotted for years, even though a month ago it was whole. A strong wind swept through, and the tall figure, no, him, appeared at the edge of the clearing. Marie was no longer beside me. The boy froze. I saw the man extend his hand, a soft gesture. "Come here. I want to show you something." Those words were an invisible blade. They cut away all thought from the boy's mind. He stepped forward once. I knew if he took 3 more steps, he would never come back. I rushed in, standing between them. I no longer felt cold or hazy as before. Now I felt heavy and clear, as if my will had been forged into steel. I roared, a sound that did not belong to the living. "No!" He stopped. His eyes narrowed, as if assessing me. "You're replacing Marie, but you don't understand the price." And then, he vanished, swallowed by the mist. The boy collapsed, gasping, his eyes still wild. I knelt, trying to signal for him to leave the forest at once. But from behind, a hand touched my shoulder. "Marie." "He can't leave." Her voice dropped. "When the law changes shape, the exit disappears, until a new grave is filled." I understood what that meant, and I knew. If we couldn't break the cycle, the boy would become the next nameless one. The boy still knelt in the clearing. His breath was heavy. His eyes were wide but empty. Marie pulled me back, whispering, "If we wait too long, the forest's roots will wrap around his mind. Once they dig deep, even if his body leaves, his soul will stay." I looked around. No path, no sign of the way out. Only white mist swirling like a thick wall. "Is there a way to take him without waiting for a new grave?" I asked. Marie was silent for a few seconds. Then she said, "There is, but it's outside the law. If we go wrong, all 3 of us will be erased." The only way, according to Marie, was to find the underground stream, a hidden waterway running under the forest's edge. It did not belong to the law because it existed before the forest's law was formed. The problem was, its entrance lay near the place the tall shadow appeared most often. We pulled the boy to his feet. Even with fading awareness, he followed as Marie led the way. The wind grew colder, scratching noises rose from every direction. I knew he was coming. We reached a deep hollow. The ground opened into a black crevice, steam drifting upward. Marie signaled, "This is the entrance. Once you go down, don't stop. Don't look back." I was about to step down when a voice spoke right behind me. "Where are you rushing to?" We turned. He stood there, no longer a vague shape, but clear as a living man. His face was younger. His eyes glowed bright blue. His lips curled in a smile. "Leave the boy here, and I'll let you both go." Marie stepped forward, blocking me from him. "It's over. You have no right left." He chuckled. "You think the law is only in my hands? It's in every inch of soil, every drop of water, every breath you take now." I knew arguing was useless. I grabbed the boy's hand and pulled him toward the crevice. He lunged forward. Marie turned, using every ounce of strength a long-bound soul had to hold him back. Their forms locked together, shuddering like two colliding winds. "Go!" Marie shouted. The boy and I jumped into the crevice. Freezing water swallowed us, dragging us into its strong current. No light, only the roar of water and the pounding of my heart. I didn't know how long we drifted. I only felt the distance from the forest growing. Then suddenly we were thrown from the stream, landing on wet gravel. When I looked up, I saw the yellow glow of an asphalt road. We were out of the forest. The boy coughed violently. When he opened his eyes and looked at me, fear and confusion filled them. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice shaking. I tried to answer, but no sound came from my mouth. I looked down. My hands were dissolving into mist. My body was fading. From far away, Marie's voice echoed, "Each soul can only leave the forest once. The price is staying behind for the one you save." I understood. I had taken the boy's place. The last thing I saw was him standing under the streetlight, watching me as the darkness consumed me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the forest path, alone. But this time, a fresh grave was waiting, and from the distance came the sound of earth being clawed. He had returned not to hunt the boy, but to hunt me. Episode 4, The Forest's New Law. I don't know how long I have been on this trail. I only know that since I got the boy out, everything has changed. The forest is no longer silent. The wind howls louder. The whispers in the leaves are clearer, as if calling my name. And he, the tall shadow, no longer hides. He wants me to see him. He wants me to know he is coming. At night, the fog is so thick it drowns everything. Through the white veil, a tall, unnatural figure stands still. His neck tilts. Pale blue eyes stare at me from afar. Each time I turn away, the sound of claws on dirt comes closer. Marie once said, "When the law changes, the predator changes its hunt." He doesn't need many graves now. He only needs one, and this time, that grave is yours. I saved the boy, so the new law sees me as an unpaid debt. That debt can only be paid with my disappearance. I tried to hide. I slipped into narrow paths, crawled through rock gaps. I hid behind fallen, rotting trunks. But the forest never let me go far. Each time I thought I had escaped, I returned to my own burial mound. And each time I came back, he stood closer. On the third night, I felt the pursuit more clearly. It was no longer just one tall shadow. There were many. Each had a different height, but all had tilted necks. Their eyes glowed faintly, like dying stars. They didn't speak. They didn't charge. They only surrounded me, tightening the circle. I understood then. This was not just him. These were his shapes, fragments of the old law clinging to other souls. And now he was gathering them all to drive me into a new grave. Marie appeared suddenly and grabbed my hand. "There's one chance," she said, "but it will take you to a place no one has ever returned from." "Where?" I asked. "The lower layer of the forest." I didn't have time to ask what lower layer meant. The ground beneath my feet trembled like a massive heartbeat under the earth. From a deep crack a few steps away, cold air surged up. It carried the smell of rot older than the forest itself. Marie looked at me, her eyes filled with both fear and resolve. "If you go down there, you will either vanish or find the thing that ends it all." Behind us, the tall shadow's footsteps came faster. There was no time to choose. I stepped to the edge of the crack, and I jumped. I fall in silence. No wind, no sense of gravity, only a thick darkness swallowing every sense I have. When I hit the ground, the first sound I hear is breathing, not mine. A slow, long breath, as if coming from beneath this very earth. A dim light glows from massive roots running across the walls. They are black, slick, wet. Each pulse makes the air tremble. The smell here is stronger than any burial mound. A mix of rotting soil, dried blood, and something sickly sweet. I realize these roots are whispering, not the voices of the dead, but commands. Hold, pull, bury. They repeat, steady as a heartbeat. I go deeper. In the center, there is a dark pool. On its surface, my reflection stares back, twisted, neck tilted, pale blue eyes. I step back, but the pool follows, even when I turn away. A deep voice echoes from every side. "You came down here. That means you accept." I don't need to look to know it's him. But this time, he is not the tall shadow. He rises from the pool, shaped like a man torn and stitched from many corpses. A hand that doesn't match its arm. A face layered with overlapping skin. And on his chest, the red cloth I once buried, now sewn into the flesh. "This is the real me," he says, his voice booming like through stone. "The tall shadow is only a shell. The law is me. I am the law." I glance around. The roots are crawling down the walls, wrapping around my legs. He steps closer. Each step ripples the pool. "You think cutting one root makes me weak? No. It only makes me hungrier." I remember Marie's words. To end it all, I must find the root. But where is it? Here, there is nothing but roots. I close my eyes, focusing on the whispers. Amid countless hold, pull, bury, there is a weaker voice. "Break the core." I open my eyes and follow that sound. In the darkest corner, where the roots knot into a mass the size of a room, a small gap glimmers. Inside, a faint white light shines. I rush toward it, roots tightening around me. He roars, grabbing my shoulder. But I am no longer afraid. I let part of my body dissolve, slipping through the roots, pressing toward the gap. Inside, the light comes from a crystal clear stone. Within it, countless human forms turn in slow circles. Every face shows pain, and I see Marie among them, eyes wide, staring straight out. Before I can touch it, he yanks me back, hissing, "Touch that, and you'll vanish with all of them." But at that moment, Marie inside the stone opens her mouth. "Touch it!" I press both hands to the stone. A fierce light bursts out, swallowing everything. The roots, the pool, the breathing, and him. I fall again. But this time, I see light above me. I open my eyes and smell fresh grass. A gentle breeze drifts by, carrying the scent of wildflowers. Above, the sky is a deep blue with no clouds. For the first time since I died, I feel warm. I'm lying in a field with a paved road and small houses in the distance. No mist, no roots, no tall shadow. I sit up and look around. No Marie, no boy I saved, No one at all. I walk toward the village. People pass by, smiling, greeting me as if I'm an old friend. They call me by name, but not my real one. Each person calls me something different. Hello, Linda. Oh, Rachel, long time no see. Hey, Sarah, come in for tea. A chill runs down my spine. That familiar feeling from the forest, the smooth, perfect falseness, slips into every word. I stop in front of a shop. In the glass, the reflection isn't me. It's the tall shadow. No tilted head. No pale blue eyes. Just a black human shape, standing straight, looking out from the other side. When I step back, its lips move. Welcome to the new surface layer. Before I can react, everything changes color. The blue sky turns to leaden gray. The people vanish, leaving only pale figures like statues, frozen in place. The grass withers in an instant. I realize this is not freedom. It's just another layer of the law. A false surface built to trap those who think they've escaped. A woman's voice whispers right beside my ear, colder than Marie's. In each layer, the law is different. And in this one, you will be the hunter. I look down. My hand is no longer translucent. It's solid, with long, hooked claws. My heart pounds, not from fear, but from a strange hunger rising inside me. I understand the new law. To leave this place, I must take the place of another soul. In the distance, a figure stumbles into this false surface. A young woman, lost and trembling, and I start walking toward her.